Hello, my name is Keegan. I'm the host of the Headspace podcast, where we go at the headspace. So today I have a special guest named Jim. Jim, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Jim Bracchitta, and I live in New York City, and I'm the parent of a classmate of yours.
Yeah, that's how I met him. Well, I didn't meet him in person. I just messaged him online. But yeah, it's a great connection. He's a cool guy, and I'm sure you'll realize this over the course of our interview talk, whatever. I don't know what these are. Like, it's just a podcast episode, I guess. So why don't you tell the audience a bit about your background?
So I am originally from New Jersey, which is the state right next door to New York, and I live now in New York City. And I'm married. I have two sons. One is Griffith, the guy who is your classmate. Second one is Rowan, who's a senior in high school. And for about 35 years in New York City, I was an actor. So I was in a number of Broadway shows and a whole bunch of television shows, and I did a lot of advertising and voiceover work. And my wife too was an actress. Did a lot of theater, a lot of commercials and advertising and voiceover stuff. Over the last couple of years, my work has changed a bit. In 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, when you can imagine, right? All acting work stopped. There was no television shooting, and there was no recording going on, and there was no theater going on. I had some experience in the world of health insurance here in the States. You know, it's different in Canada because you guys have national health insurance, but here in the States, everybody has health insurance to protect themselves from medical events if they have to go to the doctor or the hospital. And I had some experience in that world, and so many people in the entertainment industry were losing their health insurance that there was an agency, a social service agency here that was helping the entertainment community, and they were looking for people to help out. And I joined their staff for what was supposed to be about a 6-month gig, and it turned into a 6-year gig. And now I'm the managing director of the health department at this agency. The agency is called the Entertainment Community Fund, and we're a social service agency that supports and helps everyone who works in entertainment. So not only actors, but musicians, crew people, camera operators, podcasters, recording engineers, anybody who's in entertainment at all. We support them in all sorts of different ways.
That's really awesome. If so, in regards to your acting stuff, where would people might have seen you?
Well, it sort of depends on what you watch. If you were living in New York and you were watching and going to the theater or going to Broadway shows, I did 6 Broadway shows here in New York. The last big show I did was a musical called Gypsy with Patti LuPone was the star of the musical, and I was in it. It was a number of years ago. The last Broadway show I did was called 6 Degrees of Separation, just pre-pandemic. It was the last big Broadway show I did. But if you watch television, I was in an episode in season 6. I was in an episode of The Sopranos. I also did a whole bunch of episodic work in shows like The Blacklist, The Good Fight, Blue Bloods, Law and Order, all the various permutations of Law and Order. I did a miniseries on HBO about Yonkers, New York, called Show Me a Hero. So I did a whole bunch of television work, and then really to make a living as an actor. Um, a lot of our work, my wife and I both, a lot of our work was in the advertising space. So we did a lot of voiceovers and commercials. And for a long time, I was the voice of the Olive Garden restaurant here in
Really?
well, not only here in the States, in Canada too. So I was the Olive Garden used to have a slogan, when you're here, you're family, and I used to be the guy who said that on the Olive Garden
What?
commercials.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that's it's a sort of silly claim to fame, but it is what it
How
is.
how do you even get a role like that?
Well, um, that's a really funny question. So I used to audition for commercials all the time, different sorts of commercials, radio commercials and television commercials. And at one point, I think the way the Olive Garden thing started was at one point I actually did an on-camera commercial for them. I did a commercial it was about a guy like his grandma making sauce or something. It was a, some stupid Italian sort of commercial. And I don't know if it ever aired. It might have aired, but I did the on-camera spot for them, and there were two spots, and they I guess they did air. They aired the spots, and then they called me after the on-camera spots, and they said, "Hey, we'd like you to move over and do the voiceover for us. Would you do a voiceover on one of our commercials?" And I did, and then they just kept me on, and it kept growing, sort of, and the slogan became a big thing, for Olive Garden, and I did it for I did it for about 10 years, I think, that voiceover. And it was great because the voiceover world, the advertising world it's pretty lucrative, and it's not very like, there's no high profile, like nobody knew it was really me. um, but it was pretty lucrative, so it allowed us to it was while Griff was a little baby, and it allowed us to have an apartment in New York and raise a couple of kids and do
Mm.
that stuff. It was a good job.
That's pretty awesome then.
It was pretty awesome. It was a pretty awesome job.
Yeah, Olive Garden. I've actually never been there though.
um it's funny. I had never been either to an Olive Garden
Yeah.
restaurant, and I was doing the job for a number of years, and I hadn't been to the restaurant. And I did a play with some. I did a play, and I shared a dressing room with a couple of guys. And when they found out that I had never been to the restaurant, they were like, "Oh no!" Why? So they one day they took me. They didn't tell me where they were taking me. They wanted to take me for dinner between shows, and they took me to Olive Garden, and they were expecting us to walk in the restaurant, and they were going to tell the restaurant that I was the voiceover guy, and they were expecting to get like free food or free. And of course, they were like, "No, you don't get free food just because this bum is on a commercial." So it didn't really work out in their favor, but we had a nice meal at the Olive Garden. That's the only time I ever ate there, I
Okay.
think.
Yeah. Did you like it though?
Olive Garden. Um, it was all right. It was all salty. It wasn't very, it
Really
wasn't, no, not really. It was okay. It was fine. It was fine. My family used to get
interesting.
mad at me. My family's, I had a big Italian family for a while, and they used to get mad at me and be like, what are you doing? That's not Italian food. What are you selling Olive Garden for?" They used to get upset with me that I was the Olive Garden guy.
I wouldn't know, but that is pretty funny. So back to the your job right now. You said it was like medical insurance.
Yeah, so you know, entertainment entertainment down here in the States, in Canada too, is pretty heavily unionized industry. A lot of union people work in entertainment. So actors have a union, camera operators, crew people have unions, right? Musicians have unions. And for a lot of people, they get their health insurance in the States through their union. So they qualify for health insurance through their union. The trouble is that, a life in the arts is very up and down, very sporadic, right? You can work a lot and then not work at all. So when you're working, you might have your health insurance, but when you're not working, you may lose your health insurance. So part of what we do on my team at the agency is help people find and keep affordable health insurance. So usually they go on to public coverages. We don't have a strong support system like you do in Canada. Canada, you have the national health system. Here
Yeah.
we don't really have that. The closest thing we have is what's called the Affordable Care Act, which allows people who don't have insurance to buy insurance on a public marketplace. So often we're helping people from their union plans, and we're helping people navigate onto that Affordable Care Act, and then manage their health concerns. So, and it's part of our agency is comprehensive. I mean, we do a lot of other stuff. We give financial assistance. We help people with housing issues. We help senior citizens. We help kids. There's a lot of kids in show business, right? We have a whole support system for entertainment, and health is just one piece of it. But that's really what we do, is maintain that health insurance. And then we also have a primary care facility, with four primary care doctors and an OBGYN and a sports medicine doctor and a podiatrist, a foot doctor, people who sort of focus on entertainment issues. You can think of dancers and how dancers need,
Yeah.
work with their feet, or sports medicine sort of intervention at some point.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Mm.
That's cool. And you're still doing that?
Yeah, I'm still doing that now. Yeah, yeah. And I do a little bit of acting. I did a play last summer, so I still
Cool.
have my hand in it a little bit. But I do less acting than I used to do. I mean, it used to be my primary business. Yeah.
Yeah. So what got you started into show business in the first place?
Oh, that's interesting. So, I mean, I started as a musician. I was a musician first. I was a trombone player, and I was gonna be
Okay.
a. I went to a conservatory in Boston for a short time. Um, and then my family was in a bit of transition and upheaval. My dad died when I was in college, and there was some sort of, it really led to a kind of, not a kind of breakup of my family, but there was a lot of strain and stress on my family. He was the breadwinner, and it was a tough sort of transition for me. I came back to New York and I went to school and started acting at NYU and sort of started working in the summers. I used to do some work in the summers, like summer stock, and I worked at a Renaissance festival one couple of summers, and started sort of slow. I had kind of a slow launch after school. Um, and then I took some acting classes and I met a woman and we moved in together and we were together for quite a bit of time. Um, and and it was early in our both of our she was an actor too, and it was early in our careers and we were both sort of struggling with stuff. Um, but I was struggling with other things too. And I was having trouble kind of staying faithful in the relationship and being in the relationship. And uh, I spent a lot of time sort of triangulating relationships, starting new relationships while I had a relationship, and it wasn't a good space for me. And and then at one point it came to a crisis where I thought, well, oh my God, I'm in love with someone else, and so this relationship disintegrated. It broke up, and we had a pretty stable apartment life, and so I had to move out, and I really found myself, and I was in my late 20s, I guess, and I really found myself kind of lost. I mean, my career wasn't launched yet, and I was now on my own for the first time, really for the first time since college. I was on my own, paying rent on my own. I didn't really have a stable job, and it was a very kind of lonely and critical time. And what I did, which I'm glad I did, was I started to see a therapist. Um, and I was nervous at first. It was all prompted by this breakup. I was really kind of sad and depressed about it. I didn't know how to really handle it. And I connected with this therapist, and I wound up staying with her for, I mean, a, a long time, like 10 or 12 years, like a long time. Um, and it really was this journey of, for me, self-discovery, and it led me to understand why I was doing the things I was doing. I got to deal with the death of my dad, why I was sort of not able to remain and be intimate in a relationship. And it took me an awful long time. I mean, mental health is a long journey in that way, right? Talk therapy is a long journey. But it really ultimately saved me. I mean, I hate that sort of, that sounds like it was sort of, like religious or something. Wasn't that. But it I became more stable in my house, like my home became more stable, my sense of self became more stable, my job became more stable. I started to get real success and sort of enjoy and promote the success. And then I was able to re-enter the world of dating and relationships, and uh, finally got back on my feet and found a stable relationship, got married, had a couple of kids, and
That's
I'm still
amazing.
married. Yeah, it was. I found I find therapy transformative. It was transformative, really.
Yeah.
Um, People use it as a well, I'm going to go to a therapist and then I'll get better. Like it's like a short term thing. It's like a short term therapy thing is very popular now. This was a really long haul, and that's I couldn't imagine it any other way, really. Um, Mental health still carries a great stigma, and it's uh, it's as important as physical health. You know, maybe even more so. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. So,
Mm.
what are some things this therapist did that helped you, you think?
I think um, I think like all good therapists, um, she let me find myself. Right. I mean, for a while when I first started therapy, I was kind of shocked and amazed that my therapist wouldn't say anything. They just sit there. Like, aren't you going to say something? And of course, the answer when you say to a therapist, like, well, aren't you going to say something? They say, well, what would you want me to say? And through those sorts of conversations, when I learned that it was just really me in there bouncing off this other person, um, I was able to learn about myself. And occasionally she would make connections and she would say, well, look what's happening. This happened and this happened. You need to put those things together. I started to pay attention to a lot more of my uh, behaviors that I was doing unconsciously became conscious, right? Became aware of them. Why am I doing that? Why do I keep doing that same thing, right? Um, they say that before successful therapy, it's the same damn thing over and over and over and over and over, But after successful therapy, it's just one damn thing after another. So you get out of that loop of doing the same thing over and over, the same patterns. You start to get aware of them and break them. And then it's not that the issues go away, everybody has issues. But then you're dealing with them one by one and you're dealing with them and you're moving forward. You're moving forward from that issue. That makes sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, so it's kind of like
Yeah.
having another perspective, and they can like recognize what you're doing wrong in a way.
Yeah. Although wrong isn't a part of it, right? Because a good therapist is not going to be judgmental. There's no wrong and right, right? There's only what you're doing and what you're feeling, and and the idea that everyone gets angry or sad or all the feelings you can feel, right? And it's not about controlling those happen, right? It's about controlling your behavior. What do you do? If you're sad and you go to a bar and get in a fight, then it's the behavior you have to treat, right? It's like, what's going on? Why can't you be sad and just be sad instead of going to a bar and getting drunk and fighting with people? um so I think it's the difference between like acknowledging the feelings and the thoughts you have and letting them be what they are. Um, and then and then being aware of the behaviors you have and the ones you want to change. If the ones that are not making you happy or not moving you forward, why would you keep doing them? Right?
Yeah, I think recognizing it is the first step, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think
What
like
brought
do you
you
think
go ahead.
sorry, yeah. Do you think your therapist was ever judgmental to you?
No, I don't think she ever was. I mean, maybe privately, maybe she used to go home and think, "Oh my God, that guy's a nut." But no, not she was the consummate professional, right? And always non-judgmental. Whatever happened was something to something to deal with, and something to recognize, and something to talk about, right? So, and that's the kind of pure way to handle social work and psychotherapy. I think is just let the person discover for themselves what's going on. Actively listen to them, but discover what's going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, but like my thought is like what happens if the person's going in the wrong way? Like how would they like guide you in the right way? Or would they even?
I work with that's a really interesting question, right? I work with a bunch of addiction and recovery counselors. So, and I never had an addiction issue myself, but I work with counselors who work with people who have severe addiction issues. You know, you can't stop someone from drinking or getting high or taking drugs. You can't do that, right? You can lead them to solutions, you can talk about it, but that's a situation where a therapist is going to see somebody going down the wrong path right? What is it? I mean, what you can't, there's not, sometimes there's not a lot you can do. I mean, if they're going to harm themselves, if there's harm involved, or they're going to harm someone else, then a therapist is going to bring in whatever, a higher level of, maybe law enforcement or something else, or, hospitalization. But it's, the person has to want to make the change, and they have to be ready to make the change. Sometimes taking a step and just connecting with a therapist is part of that change. That's the beginning of the change, right? People think about it for a long time. Wow, I should really connect with a therapist. I really should connect with a therapist. And then the sort of action step comes where they actually do connect with a therapist. It means they're getting ready to make a change. And then over time with that therapist, if the therapist is good, if the mental health treatment is good, there's a way to maybe make that change if they're still committed to that change. To stop a behavior or start a behavior or reconcile with a parent or a partner or a family situation, stuff like that. You know.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes they all you gotta do is recognize that you're addicted. Some people even say they're not addicted.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's part of addiction, is not recognizing that you are addicted, right? There's an old phrase about liquor, right? About a man takes a drink, and then the drink takes the drink, and then the drink takes the man. So
Oh,
the
yeah, I've heard that.
you heard
Asian,
that,
right?
there's where are you in that journey? And I think that what leads people to recovery is, well, it can be a lot of things, I guess. It can be bottoming out, you know, really it can be, it's just people think, look, I have to make a change here. My life isn't going the way I want it to go. My relationship isn't the same. I can't pay my rent or whatever's the occurrence. There's also a lot in the addiction recovery space. There's a lot of relapse, right? People get
Oh,
sober and then they're not sober, and then they're sober and then they're not sober. There's a kind of up and down, two steps forward, one step back kind of thing. Um, and a therapist shouldn't be, well, a therapist isn't going to judge that. A therapist is going to watch that and monitor that and talk about that. But it's only the person who can make the change, really.
it's themselves.
Yeah, I think so. Have you had therapists on the podcast?
Did I had a crisis responder
Uh huh.
and a no therapist though. I'd love to get one on
Yeah,
someday.
you need a social worker or a therapist on. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'll figure something out, I'm sure. It would be great. But it's good to have your perspective too, because you're like in the world where you're surrounded by these people and you have experience like with them from the
Yeah,
receiving end and like talking to them.
yeah.
So I think you brought a lot of interesting perspectives. I like it.
Interesting. Cool. Cool. I'm just curious. You're doing a mental health podcast, and I want to ask you a question. I mean, have you have you ever been in therapy or with a therapist, or what's your journey with that, with mental health?
Yeah, so like a few months ago, I guess, at the start of the first semester of third year, which I'm in third year, right?
Uh huh.
Um, of university, I did go to the counselor. It's like kind of like a mental health counselor. It's not exactly a
Huh?
therapist, but it's very similar.
Yeah.
But it wasn't for mental health specifically. It was more because I'm autistic and
Okay.
I need help with that because
Yeah.
I need to like act normal because I'm not normal, like, right. So I would basically ask her to help me with that stuff, and I found it really useful. It was very similar to what you described therapy as, like the other
Yeah.
perspective, helping you find yourself in a way.
Yeah.
Just listening to you, helping you with those things. It was really
Yeah.
nice. She was very non-judgmental as well. But I
Yeah.
think that's key for a therapist, not being judgmental.
Yeah. I also think that
And
like coping mechanisms are important, right? I mean, if you have something that's, you seem completely normal to me, by the way. um,
yeah,
but that you learn strategies to be in the world, right? It's not that you're not going to think of these things, or these thoughts are not going to come into your head or whatever, but it's that you're going to recognize them and be able to handle them and work with them, and can, sort of have strategies to help you cope in the
Yeah.
world, and make the world better. um how long did you work with her?
It was a few months, and then I stopped because I think that like it's free with the university, but they only offer it for like 8 sessions, so I only had eight
Right,
sessions.
right.
But it was still really useful, and
Yeah.
yeah, like because I'm 20 right now, I think I self-diagnosed autism because the way it works in Canada, you gotta like it's like you gotta pay thousands of dollars to get an official thing. Like
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
gonna bother. But like I know I'm autistic because
yeah.
like my whole life I've been like weird, and people genuinely think I'm autistic like before they talk to me or before they like knew me, right?
Yeah.
And it's like a normal person never has people asking if they're autistic. So if multiple people are genuinely asking, then it's kind of like, come on, you are. And
Right.
I had this realization when I was like only a few months ago. Like I'm already an adult. I went through like my whole high school life, and before that, not knowing, like I just thought I was weird.
Yeah,
And I think it's really just having that diagnosis, even if it's just self-diagnosis, is really useful because you can
yeah,
recognize the things you have that are different and how you can like fix them or just be yourself, whatever. But now you
yeah,
know how you are.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, and yeah, my like the counselor really helped with that.
yeah. It's a real journey of maturity too. It's a real mark of maturity. The idea of knowing yourself. I mean, some people. The other thing about the therapy journey, the journey of self knowledge, is some people never go on it. Some people spend their whole lives and they just avoid things, and it became for me, and just like it did for you, it becomes intolerable after a while. It's like, I'm sorry, I have to do something about this, right? I can't keep living this way. I have to live a different way in order to be happy. There's no other way. I could be unhappy and keep acting out and be whatever. But if I really pay attention to what I'm feeling and what I'm doing, then I can be in control of it. You can change it, you know. And it's a brave journey. It's a brave journey.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm glad you took it and I took it. So,
Yeah, me too.
yeah.
Me too. And I'm glad it's informing the podcast. It's
Yeah,
a
it's great.
it's a cool thing that it informs the podcast. Maybe it'll inspire some others.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like for me, some things I thought were normal for me that I was doing is like I don't really make eye contact with people when I talk to
Uh-huh.
them, and I don't really like make facial expressions when I talk
Uh-huh.
to them. And I thought this was normal, but apparently it's not. You're supposed to emote and make eye contact and stuff. And these are things like I just never even thought of them because I guess I don't know, something's like I'm autistic, right? I would just never even think of that.
Yeah.
So the counselor really helped me with that because she like recognized these things that I struggle with that I didn't even realize weren't normal, and helped
Interesting.
me be more normal in that way. Like
Yeah.
I'm literally like practicing making facial expressions in a mirror
You
just
want to do? Hey man.
to act normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
what the heck? And
Yeah.
like isn't that, don't you kind of have to do that too as an actor though?
It's funny. You don't do that as an actor. People think that actors do that. That you act in front of a mirror. You do. If you're acting on television, you do want to pay attention to how you look and where your eyes are and what's going on. But we don't. Actors don't generally practice in front of a mirror. Really, what we do is, um, we take given circumstances and act at, as real as you can in those given circumstances, right? So in a play, maybe you're a businessman who's coming home to your family to have dinner, right? Those are the circumstances, and then you behave as a businessman would, coming through the door, loosening his tie, sitting down at the table, and having dinner. And really, you're interacting with the other person. That's really where you're practicing. You're not looking in a mirror on your own. You're really, but the coping mechanism that you found, that listen, I have to look in the mirror and make sure I'm connecting with my eyes, or I'm gonna smile or not smile, or whatever you're doing. That's something you can use as a technique. Obviously, it's something you can use as a technique. Um, I mean, Keegan, I don't know you incredibly well, but we've spent a few times talking on the phone, and now we've spent time on the podcast. Um, your behavior never seemed never seemed odd to me. Seemed completely normal to me. So whatever's going on is working, and it's you. It's you.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's just because I feel like I'm kind of an actor in a way too, because I'm just
Uh-huh.
being a different version of myself when I'm in
Yeah.
public. Right?
Yes. Yeah. You're kind of playing a character, aren't you? You're playing Keegan, the public
Yeah,
guy. Um.
yeah, you
uh,
could say that.
yeah. Yeah.
I
Uh.
don't know though. Like, but you're saying acting is different from what I'm doing.
uh I am, and the reason I'm saying it is, you know, an actor. I mean, it's not. People think acting is like, you know pretending you're someone else or something. That can be sort of psychotic, right? That's not really acting. Acting is, you're part of telling a story, whatever you're doing, whether it's television or it's a play or it's an advertising script. You're telling a story and you have a part of the story, right? So maybe in one play I'm the hero, the other play I'm the bad guy or I'm the villain, right? I have to do that. I have to tell that part of the story, and I have to do it in a way that makes it believable to you, right? If I play a mobster, you have to believe I'm a mobster, and you believe that I'm really gonna maybe, kill somebody if I'm a villain. So I have to convince you of that in the story. But I don't have to walk around the street pretending I'm a mobster, right? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it in the confines of the creative process on a film set or on a theater set. Um, and the good thing about that is it gives you a great range to play all sorts of characters. I loved years ago. I started a theater company. It was a small playwrights company where people would come and work on new plays, and it was great because we got to read all sorts of plays. And as the actor, you got to play all sorts of different parts in the course of a 4 or 5 week season. So you could play heroes and villains and good guys and bad guys. And, it was really fun to change and do that. Um, that was the fun part of it.
Mm, that's cool. So you got to play like every role.
Not every role, but lots of different roles. Right. So in one play, I would have maybe a small role as I don't know, police officer. In the next, I was the head of a guy who ran a gas station. And then I was a guy on a fishing trip. And then I was a guy who was married to somebody who was divorcing me, or, all sorts of different scenarios, right? And telling those stories through the playwright's words.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you think you need to like? Do you ever like watch yourself in the recordings and feel it's kind of weird though?
Yes, especially in the beginning. Right. I mean, when I started doing voiceovers, I would have to listen. Sometimes listening to your own voice can be weird. But I had to learn to do that because once you can listen without judgment, then you can change if I need to read faster or higher or softer. And even on camera, to pay attention to, especially things like we were talking about eye contact, you know, using your eyes on camera is critical, where you're looking, where your eye line is. Um, and you can only get some of that, whether it's coming across, if you're able to watch yourself objectively, right? To kind of step back, watch yourself, and then redirect.
So you've been. Did you practice doing that stuff?
Um, you know, that's a good question. You can't really practice on set unless you can get over to the little video village where they're showing the takes, and I would try to do that as much as I could. Now it's a little easier, right? Because now if I audition for television or film, I'm taping those auditions here at my house. I'm recording them here at my house, and so I can watch my takes. I can record them on the phone or on a, and then watch them and edit them and redo them. You don't have that much control when you're on a set, because when you're on a set, the camera operators and the director and the assistant director, they're all working on that piece of it. They're not letting you see that really. You're just you're in the set acting and they're controlling the image. But at home when I'm auditioning, I have more freedom to look at myself and watch myself. I had to learn to do that though. It was very weird in the beginning. Very weird.
Mm. Yeah, I mean that's kind of like what I do with the
With the
also
podcast?
practicing like yeah, I
Yeah.
was gonna say with the podcast, like when you mentioned like hearing your own voice, I got used to it pretty fast because
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the entire thing is just my own voice when I'm
Yeah.
editing,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean I got used to that, and also like um, yeah, I mean the process is fun though,
Yeah.
and I do have to listen to my voice a lot. You
Yeah.
get used to it, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you gotten used to your voice?
I have. I have. And now since I'm used to it, I can direct myself. I can control it, right? I now I know how to make it sound. If I want it to sound different, I can make it sound different. I'm in control of it in a lot of ways, because I don't spend time judging it. Now I can listen to it as if it's almost listening to it like as if it's some other actor doing it, and then I can direct myself and change it if I have to.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Uh, anyways, how do you think your
Yeah,
job now is different from acting?
oh, that's interesting. So like I said, I acted for a number of years, right? And I just transitioned to doing this in about 5 years ago. It's quite a bit different. I mean, I'm still in the entertainment industry because the people I deal with are from the entertainment industry. So it's a community I know. It's a community I love, but I understand the work life of a musician or an actor or a dancer and the way their work is, kind of inconsistent, sporadic, might be up and down, what it's like to work on a set, what it's like to work in a theater. I know that intimately. And so it's good to know it, but it's a very different skill that I'm practicing. The way I got here really was that even when I was an actor, I always had a desire or a instinct to be in public service. So a number of years ago, while I was an actor, I ran for office in the union. I became a union officer. I became on the board of directors of a big union down here called Screen Actors Guild. Um, and I would be very responsive to the community. So as a board member on the union, you would listen to people's concerns about work and then bring them to the board and try to change them or try to affect change on behalf of your constituents. And I did that for a while, and then when I finished with that board service, they appointed me as a trustee, what's called a trustee of the health plan. So I started to deal with more on the healthcare side for actors, how it works and stuff like that. And but again, it was very much like public service, right? People would come to me with their issues or their problems, and I would try to solve them for them. I'd go ahead and I'd advocate for change in the contract, or I'd make a change in the policy in some way to respond to the constituents' needs and try to help them have a better experience with the union or with healthcare. Um, and so that was always part of my DNA, right? The idea of helping and being compassionate and taking care of others or advocating for change. And when I got to when this job came around during the pandemic, I told you I was out of work, so I landed here. This job really I'm a helper, is what I am. People contact us, they're in trouble, they're distressed, something's up, something's wrong. And I listen to them and I talk to them and I catch them and I hold them and I put them in a better place, right? I try to let them, when they leave me, they should be in a better place than when they came in to see me. That's my job. And so for me, being a helper or being a public servant or an advocate in some way is really important. And that's very, very different than acting. Acting is really storytelling, right? Acting as a whole, the job is really telling stories and making an impact on an audience. And you leave the audience different, but you leave them sort of moved, hopefully, by the work you're doing. Here, it's a much more one on one, individual, case by case basis. but it's still that public service aspect. It's still that idea that you're taking someone in and helping them individually find a better place. Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
Yeah, so it's more like
Yeah.
it's more on a smaller scale, I guess.
It is on a smaller scale, but it's very different than storytelling. It's more public service. That's
Yeah.
the difference in those two jobs. And I particularly like there's a part of my job that's around advocacy. So advocacy for legislative change, especially in the health area, uh, and that's really been gratifying to work on lobbying a legislator or trying to get changes in the law to help the community I serve. That's been very gratifying.
Yeah, that's really good. Have you done anything in terms of like mental health advocacy?
Uh, Only in terms of like trying to make it more accessible and and better covered by insurance down here in the States. We're always trying to expand the network of available therapists so that our clients or our participants in our health plan can more easily access mental health care. Um, uh, Mental health is a big challenge in the entertainment industry. There's um, there's oftentimes when our agency is called upon. In fact, we just did some work with there's a Broadway show here. I'm trying to remember the title of the show, but it stars the guy who was in the Harry Potter movies. Daniel Radcliffe is in this Broadway show, and the Broadway show it's really a one man show, but it deals with suicide, and it's pretty serious subject matter. And they had a few of our social workers go over and work with the company and work with the actor and the director, just to sort of work through those issues because those issues were pretty, they're deep. Those are deep issues that they're dealing with, and so they wanted a mental health professional to be there. Um, I like that I work at a place that can do that, that can go and intervene in that
Yeah.
way and provide mental health counseling and support to workers who need it on set or on stage.
So wait, so are they helping the actors or are they helping like the advocacy of it?
So my job is really the advocacy part. When they go, they're dealing with the company and the workers. The social workers are going on set or they're going to the theater and they're dealing with the company of actors. If the actors are having difficulty working through those issues, they may work with the actors individually to help them with those issues. Make
Uh,
sense?
yeah. Do you
Yeah.
know if the issues are like related to being an actor though?
No, I don't think they're related to being an actor. I think they're really related to the subject matter of what's going on. Right. Sometimes plays especially, movies too, but plays deal with really sensitive and difficult subjects. Suicide is a difficult subject. Abuse can come up. It's a difficult subject. And if people in the company, whether it's the actors or the crew or whoever's around the play a lot, are being triggered by those issues, they may need some support around that.
Yeah. That would be
Mm.
really tough to get through then. So it's really good that your group can help with that then.
Yeah, yeah, it is tough. It can be tough. It's funny, we don't really deal with the audience. The audience is going to deal with it too when they watch the play, but we don't really deal with the audience. We really deal with the company and the workers on at the place, the workers at the theater or the workers on the set, and how it's impacting them and how they're able to navigate those issues.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, yeah, the again, there's not enough mental health advocacy, I think, so your
I
work is
agree.
great.
I agree. I agree.
And with the audience, I feel like if they're getting that emotional over the play, then it was really well made, right?
Yes. Yeah. That's the impact, right? They're having that impact. That if you leave a play and you're moved by that play or you're thinking about that issue and you're really, in it, then yeah, the play did its job. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what was the play you were talking about?
So the play is this play. I think it's called. I wish I could remember the name of it. It's Daniel Radcliffe is in it, and it's opening on Broadway in just a couple of weeks. We're recording this in March, so it should be opening this spring. I think it's called Every Little Thing or Every Beautiful Thing or something like that. Um, um, yeah, I'll have to. You have to look online when we're done.
I can search it
um,
up right now. I have my phone.
yeah,
It's all right.
it's a Daniel Radcliffe Broadway show, and it should come up. You'll get the title, and it's effectively a one man show. It's him telling a story. Um, I have not seen it. I'm interested in seeing it, but I haven't seen it.
Okay, that sounds great.
Yeah.
It's
Did you find the title?
called. Why can I not? What? It's called. Is it? What? What is this?
What
Merrily
is it?
We Roll Along?
No, no, that was the last play he did. Merrily We Roll Along was a musical that he did last season. Um,
Oh,
uh,
okay.
maybe do current Broadway show. Daniel Radcliffe current Broadway show.
I didn't know he did Broadway.
Yeah, he's been doing a bunch more theater than film lately.
Oh, yeah, it's called Every Brilliant Thing.
Every brilliant thing. That's it. Every brilliant thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Curious to see it. I'm hoping that we get some seats and tickets to see it.
It's in New York?
It's in New York, yeah. So, but it's funny. My agency, we do the Broadway theaters often raise money for us. They'll do a special show or special performance where they'll raise money for us. And when they do those evenings, we sometimes get tickets, discount tickets, or even sometimes free tickets
Okay.
to go see the show while they're doing the fundraiser for us. And that can be really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, it looks like that's all the time we have for today. So, if anyone wants to reach out to you, how would they do that?
I think the best way to reach out to me is probably via email. I can. Do you want me to give you my email? And you want
Yeah,
to
just
post it?
spell it out for the audience, and I'll put it in the
Uh,
description too.
sure. Yeah. The best one is my personal one, I guess. It's jvbnyc@gmail. So JV is in victory, B is in boy, NYC@gmail.
Okay.
Okay.
And yeah, it was nice talking to you, and
Oh,
I
it's
hope you
really
have a
nice
good
talking
day.
to you. Thanks for having me. I think it's a really interesting topic you're dealing with, and I'm honored
Yeah,
to be a guest.
thank you. All right,
Yeah.
bye.
Bye.